We feel the breath of our ancestors at our shoulders, and we acknowledge them. We acknowledge that we stand on sacred grounds, soil deep and rich in history. A history so rich that only after a lifetime we can hope to understand. From the reddest of the desert to the bluest of the seas, with rolling hills of emerald green, we are students of your learning. We younger ones don't have books of all your teaching, but it is woven into the fabric of our DNA. We all hear your stories, some louder than others, as we find our way. But we will not let you be rendered silent. We hear your songs. They crackle at the surface with voices from over 65,000 years, and we acknowledge you. We haven't come this far to be divided. We are still here. We will continue to tell our collective history because we are still here. To our brothers and sisters, to our allies and supporters, go from here and let everyone know we are still here, and it always was and it always will be our birthright.
Nina Marnie, good morning everyone and welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge that we are coming to you today from the amazing country of the Kaurna people. I'd like to pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Also recognise the cultural authority of my board member who has joined us today, and cultural authority of those that are joining us from wherever you are in South Australia. Thank you for taking the time today to log in and listen to us. This is a first for us as an organisation, and depending on feedback and how we feel afterwards, we more than likely will do more of this in the future. So I will introduce you to my two co-chairs who I have roped into today. Helen Connolly, thank you for joining us. And Jeremy Johncock, thank you very much for taking time out of your already busy schedules to do this today. Before we launch into some content, I'd just like to let you know that if you want to ask us questions, you can start doing that right now. So there is a chat function available on your screen that you can log into and start typing your questions for us. On anything related to reconciliation about us as an organisation or comments that you would care to make. I'm going to just start with an apology for those of you that are coming to our breakfast. We have endeavoured to try and bulletproof the breakfast organisations to our best ability, and I have an amazing team right now working to do best they can. We've relied on some third-party people, and it would seem as though that the process for informing people that have got tickets has revealed a bug in the Humanitix system, and we're working on that right now to address. Rest assured we'll get that sorted out as soon as possible so that everybody knows their table numbers for our breakfast next week. We're working on it. We're going to do a bit of a conversation and a bit of a chat here, and I wanted to start first of all question comment, Jeremy, for you around not just Reconciliation Week, which starts on the 27th, but there's a day beforehand which is really important for First Nations people.
Yep.
Did you just want to, offer some comments on May 26th and share with people around that?
Yep. So for, I guess, those that don't know, May 26th marks the day that we know as Sorry Day. So every year on the 26th of May, we remember and acknowledge the mistreatment of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that were forcibly removed from their families, but also their communities. And that's better known now as Stolen Generations. As Reconciliation and say, we acknowledge the strength of the Stolen Generation survivors and reflect on how we can all play a part in healing in that process. So it'll be remiss of us not to acknowledge that before we dive into the exciting part of Reconciliation Week and all the celebrations. But yeah, certainly acknowledge the mistreatment of those people that came before us and those that are still on that healing journey now. But it's important to, I guess, those that are on that reconciliation journey, what role they can play in helping in that healing process. So so a shout out to all our people out there that are still struggling. We love you and we support you.
That's so important to hear. Thank you.
It's really interesting. I think everything we seem to do in the reconciliation space always has the light and shade, and so we have to always kind of acknowledge things that aren't great before we have any celebration, isn't it? So that we're really kind of positioning it. Otherwise we're not looking at the total picture. So so May 26th is really important.
It is.
And then we kick off into celebrations. And as you've just said, Jason, offline, it's the grand final week for Reconciliation. It's events every day. Every morning, every afternoon, every night. So pretty tricky to kind of fit it all in, but hoping it kind of makes its mark, has a bit of an impact in the community with that many things going on.
Totally. It absolutely. I feel as though that there is a change that is happening. And I, from the briefing that I put together for the breakfast, we've got a section in there about Stolen Gen, and there is a walk that is being done on Sunday for anybody that's interested in going, and that's at Colebrook. You can just Google Colebrook Reconciliation, and there is a walk to, acknowledge the importance of that day by the local community, which is just lovely. It's not a celebration of, it's an acknowledgement and a recognition, and bringing people together to have that light and dark conversation is like, that's reconciliation, isn't it?
I think they call it's the Blackwood Reconciliation Group.
Who
so
are
they've
amazing.
Been so active over so many years and are really consistent, kind of low-key, doing their bit in their local community to actually keep the focus on reconciliation. I just think that they do amazing work.
They do. They are incredible. Good people. And the stats and the figures from memory here, over 33,000 I'm not going to say members, but the numbers are 33,000 First Nations people have been identified as part of the Stolen Generation nationally. From memory, the numbers is over 2,100 South Australians. And of the 30,000 plus First Nations people in South Australia, it's 70% of that population is either Stolen Gen or a descendant of Stolen Gen, and that's a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the love's there, and we've got to keep grounding with that, don't we?
Yeah, and so that is that commemoration piece, isn't it? May 26th. It's not a celebration. It's just about marking, commemorating, respecting, acknowledging, and then going into the kind of more active kind of here and now and where we're going, future focus for the reconciliation
and supporting.
Week.
Yeah. So if you do want to know more about it, you can. We'll say this a few times. You can go online and look for information about Sorry Day and Stolen Generation. We'll acknowledge that at our breakfast, and we will jump into that now. So the theme for this year is really important now more than ever, and that theme has been set by our national body, and it's a great theme, which I think is a signal and a message after the referendum that now more than ever it's important we have conversations, that we lean into that light and dark and get, and I know you've used this term with us a bit, it's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. So do you want to talk about our breakfast and the theme?
I think the theme is, I think, is a real nod to the disappointment that so many of us in the reconciliation space have felt since October, and not really having the avenue or the place to come out and really kind of name it. So for me, I think it's a really important theme. And I know at our board meeting, well, for a number of our board meetings following the referendum, we've had to talk about the impact it's had and the voices that say, this the end of reconciliation, and the other voices that are saying it's the beginning of reconciliation. And so us finding our place as an organisation in that. And I think what we've landed on is a bit more in favour of the this is the start of a new conversation and new actions to ensure that we are really hearing what people are thinking and that we're connecting. So I think it's a bit of a kind of thing, when you put a line in the sand or a flag or whatever the metaphor might be. I think it is about saying, we're here. Things have been pretty awful for the last few months, but we're really as committed as ever to actually having that kind of conversation with the South Australian community. Big conversation. How many people we got coming to our breakfast to start off the week? It's like how many millions it feels like.
Oh gosh, well, yes.
2,000.
2,800.
2,800. So let's go 3,000 almost. So pretty big. So we're hoping, I think, that we have got some new people in the room as well. So I think that's been a really important thing to push it out, to get as many more supporters as we can. So we launched the week with the breakfast. It is a celebration. It's a call to action. We always, I've been doing them for a few years now. So I always have a bit of a call for members and membership, because I think the thing that people kind of don't see is our size.
Yep.
So there's only five of you, five paid staff, so not exactly huge. Yep. Really kind of punching above their weight, and then a pretty small volunteer board that try to do as much as we can to be in all the places and across all of the projects that that Reconciliation is involved with. So for it's a member-based organisation, but more importantly, Reconciliation is a movement.
Yep.
So it's a movement of people doing things collectively and individually to actually kind of really grow that reconciliation agenda. So that's what members do. Yep. So it's about, we need the the financial kind of support as well that comes with membership, but far more importantly than that, it is about building a movement of change.
Correct. Yeah. And every member in the last fortnight, if their details are correct in the membership portal, would have received a pack from us. So there's a letter in there. There's the lovely badge that we've launched as our new logo. Thank you, Karen Briggs. There is some content in there that is about us as an organisation, and we'll do more of that. I think annually as a way to engage and give our members something back. Yeah. We will do more of this for our members, And I've got some really interesting ideas I want to throw at the board at the next board meeting about how we can, I guess, no, because I'll get told off for that. but I want to, I think what we want to do is support our members with content so that our members are doing the lifting for us, because 5 staff cannot cover South Australia. But what we can do is we can support our members to actually push that narrative out there. And so we're talking right now about how best we can do that. And that's exciting. Yeah, that's really exciting. So you both get to stand up at the breakfast in front of 2,800 people.
Can't wait.
I've written you. I've provided some draft notes, and I think it's going to be good. There's going to be a lot of community people there, and I did a bit of a breakdown on the numbers in terms of the sectors that are coming, and so we have 163 people, just people. Individuals that are not connected, but are coming along.
Great.
There are 450 corporate people. We have 201. This is lovely. 201 Aboriginal businesses or organisations.
Wow.
Coming along, and
that would be a change over the years.
Yeah,
that we wouldn't have seen nearly that many Aboriginal businesses back when I first started.
Yeah. So that, it's great for us, and thank you for honouring the breakfast. We have 120 sponsors. We don't have 120 sponsors, but we have people representing. We have provided, through the generosity of sponsors, but also how we've worked out the formula, we have provided 50 free tickets for First Nations people to come along, which is great. We have members of Stolen Generation that are going to be there. We've got 100, this is a lovely figure which surprised me. We have 110 representatives from the LGA.
Yeah, wow.
Right, which is a stakeholder group that I will be focusing on in the future more. We have 77 people from universities, 300 from the education sector. We have our biggest cohort is 790 people from state government, representing every state government department, which is fantastic. And even better, we have 500 non-government organisations in attendance. So how does that make you feel, Jeremy?
Well, proud really, that so many organisations and individuals too, which you highlighted earlier, that are on board and ready to support the reconciliation movement. I think when we talk about reconciliation, I think we've got to talk about the journey, because it is a journey. Like you said, there's many new people coming to the breakfast this year, and that are taking their first steps on this journey. And it's important to highlight that and put the emphasis on the journey, because you're not going to get it right straight away.
No.
There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but it's I guess the way you face those. And organisations like us, Reconciliation SA, are there to support you. So always reach out when you need.
Yep. And that's our job, is to support, isn't it?
Yep.
When we don't always get it right. I've got a litany of those stories from my career, and it's how we learn and how we do better.
But we do, and I think I'm right in saying we've got a bit of a marketplace as well for some of the Aboriginal businesses.
We do, we do.
In the foyer, is that right?
So we've got 5 businesses that have been selected through the Aboriginal Business Hub, the Circle. And they'll be in the foyer, so they'll be selling their products. And we haven't done that before either. So because we have 2,800 people coming through the door, we would encourage them to engage with those businesses, have a look at what they've got. So it's just another way of how we want to engage and do a little bit differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it is, reconciliation is about all those dimensions, isn't it? It's everything we can do to, to get better equity, whether it be economic, social, justice, all those kind of things. So actually supporting businesses to, with new markets, I think is a really important part of this as well.
Correct. Yeah. Look, the theme now more than ever just lends itself in many different ways. So regardless of whether it's a deeper understanding about Stolen Gen, whether it's about economic participation or about supporting us as an organisation, it's great. Obviously, organisations need to think about strategically their alignment too, and reconciliation action plans are a great way to start that journey and start that conversation. So that's pretty exciting, yeah. In terms of the breakfast and the day, really excited. We have the lovely Luke Carroll emceeing for us, and keynote speaker is Adam Briggs.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
It's really exciting.
Yeah.
We're fortunate that we've got a partnership with Channel 44, and they are recording it, and it will be played, I think, 3 times during Reconciliation Week for people to actually sit down and watch, and that's exciting. And I thought I'd share with you, yesterday I went out to Trinity College in Gawler, and my gosh, what an amazing school environment. I'm still processing what that school is doing to support First Nations people, but they're actually hosting a school breakfast for their students and for parents that want to come along during Reconciliation Week, and they will screen the Channel 44 breakfast.
Wow.
They've got the students actually making breakfast using bush food products.
Nice.
And that's what they're doing as a school community to bring the narrative and the conversations into real life.
Yeah,
and full credit to the leadership there that are doing some exceptional work.
It's great, isn't it? I think
just amazing.
We've had some of those conversations, haven't we? We're starting to think about how do we, because we can't grow our breakfast. We can't have a 5,000 person breakfast.
No, 2008, my staff will leave.
Exactly. So this is the limit. But we do anticipate that there'll be more and more interest every year. So how do we actually support others to do it in their own communities and have that process as well? So I think
that's
it's
the
a
next
really
step.
Yeah, I think the stuff that Trinity's doing then is a really good kind of
exceptional.
tester of it. So
correct. And we have offered, and we will continue to do so with LGAs to develop those relationships and perhaps have some regional LGAs hosting our breakfast as well. So the important thing for us is how we get greater participation and how we build the conversation in regional areas as well.
Yeah.
Which is where we think we need to do a bit of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are people being a bit quiet asking us questions?
We've got one question.
Oh.
Thank you for whoever that is. And rest assured that it doesn't actually identify who the question is from. So you don't need to feel like you can't ask a question. We get a lot of questions through our emails and phone calls, and there's no question we can't or won't answer. So ask your questions. We've got one in there, and maybe I'll just go to it. Question is, where can we find out more information about National Reconciliation Week events and how to get involved or provide support to? So I'm happy to answer that one if you want.
Yeah.
The easiest way to do it is to go to Reconciliation Australia's website or our website. We've kind of identified this year in particular that there are these great pockets of community groups popping up now and letting us know what they're doing. So Blackwood Reconciliation Group are doing something on the Saturday and the Sunday. And if you Google them or go to Facebook, you will find their information. But I think what we want to think about as an organisation is creating a state calendar.
Yeah.
Because we also know that some of the regional councils do great work, but we haven't been able to capture that. I know that the City of Burnside are holding a movie night, and I really can't remember what day that is. So you'll if you're in the Burnside region, go to their council website. We also know that we have Reconciliation in the South, which is what the amazing Onkaparinga Council are doing, and you can go to their website as well. We have Reconciliation in the West, which is an amazing.
It's been going a long time.
An amazing day, and that's run out at Towndy Aboriginal College.
Yeah.
And that's an extraordinary event to go to as well. So whilst there's no one repository at this stage, it's something that we've identified that we'll look into.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how do you support them? Show up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
probably a good opportunity to mention too, if you're an organisation with a RAP, a lot of the time one of your actions within your RAP is about registering your events.
Yes, correct.
Whether they're internal events or public events on the Reconciliation Australia website.
Correct.
So that is an action if you do you have a RAP. And if it's a public event, then that's an easy way for other people to get involved with your event as well. So worth just shouting that one out.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So they're the two places that you can go. How can you provide support? That can be in multiple ways. And one of the things that I would encourage anybody to do is if you're going to go because you're passionate and you want to show your support and perhaps buy something or just be on a walk or whatever, that is amazing. But I'd encourage you to take a friend or take a family member or some staff from your organisation, because we can't do it all ourselves. And so if you are able to take along somebody that may be not sure, not confident or curious, then take them with you and have a conversation there. And that's how we're going to grow the movement, because back to your point, it's a people movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
It always has been.
Yeah.
And change won't happen unless more people are aware.
Yeah. It's also, I think, really important what Jeremy said, that it's it's a journey, it's a process. It's not just a destination or an outcome. Like, we want a reconciled Australia, absolutely. But that process of getting there has got so many dimensions and elements to it. So I think one of the things really be great for people to do to show support in Reconciliation Week, but at all time, is to try and get a bit of a better handle on what we know as the kind of 5 dimensions of reconciliation. And I just think that they really do. For me, it can be so overwhelming. It's almost like, world peace. It's that kind of scale of kind of issue, and you think, oh God, how do little old me here actually make any difference in this when there are such structural problems and so much racism and all this kind of big stuff going on? Then what can I do? But I think trying to, when you unpick it and kind of work out all the things that need to happen, it does give you some ways to make a difference just in your own life. And whether it's just in that week, being able to say to colleagues at work, even, it's Reconciliation Week, and so I think it's raising awareness is still really important. We haven't moved beyond that, really.
No.
We've still got to do that, and then we do have to understand racism, and we do have to understand kind of structural inequalities, and and truth telling. I think is a really important one well, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
that's to the getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I mean, our shared history is not one that the majority of the nation's proud of, right? But are we not mature enough to have those conversations?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be hard to move into this reconciliation space if we're not.
Yeah.
But it is a case of getting uncomfortable, being comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not comfortable for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to have these conversations
really
as well.
No.
Like, we're revisiting trauma.
Yes.
Every time we talk about the real history of this country. So if we can have those conversations, I'm sure everyone else can as well.
Yeah, totally understand. Totally agree.
Really important part.
Yeah.
And things like, I always say to people, watch a movie. There's been some great, really powerful movies made by Aboriginal people about Aboriginal stories and Aboriginal life. So, tap into that and actually try and connect and think and think about what that is and the story it's actually telling you. So I think there's a whole heap of ways that people can actually do this.
Correct.
Because if you when you experience something, whether it's you moved by, music or art or culture or whatever it might be, it does make you kind of want to share that with someone.
Yeah.
So then you will have a conversation, which is a much kind of easier way to have a conversation rather than kind of going, well, I'd like to talk to you about reconciliation. No one's going to do that.
That's when the eyes glaze over.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it?
People are like,
God,
oh,
here we
whatever.
go.
But if you say, I just saw the most amazing movie shot at, and I did see one this week, but that's a Dipped in Black, which I can't say the Aboriginal name for it because it's yay long. But and really, beautiful, moving, thought-provoking, challenging short film that
they're out there now, aren't they? They're on Netflix. They're on the streaming programs.
So,
they're on YouTube.
Yeah.
You was telling
We're
us
not
before we
going
started.
We're not going there.
So there's a movie called The Last Daughter, right? And we'll go just get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's okay, mate.
So Jeremy features in that. It's a great movie. That's on. I believe that's on Netflix. There's another great movie on Netflix which I sat down with my family and watched, which was The Drover's Daughter.
Yeah.
Drover's Daughter.
Yeah. With Leah Purcell.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's just put a whole different light on a story that we know about. But it's real, right? It's powerful and it's beautifully shot and directed and exceptional. So those movies are out there. There's the Nunga Screen, which happens this time of year. If you don't know about it, Nunga Screen. I think there's 5 movies, 5 films in there. Country Arts SA do an amazing job putting that together. And in fact, one of those movies is a movie by one of our staff, Travis Akbar. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And they're short enough movies where you can watch in a lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then you can have a staff conversation around. So that's something else to think about in the whole conversation. You mentioned before the 5 dimensions of reconciliation. And people might be thinking, what are they?
Yeah.
I have to write them down because I always forget one.
I forget one.
So the 5 dimensions are equity and equality, historical acceptance, unity, institutional integrity, and race relations. You can't do one without the other.
Absolutely.
And so we encourage you to unravel that within your world and organisations, and then just apply some thinking to how best you might be able to engage and embrace those going forward. Yeah. You also mentioned a little bit about anti-racism, and I think it would be remiss of us not to highlight some work that we're doing in that space, given we've got some good people on board. Thank you. And the questions are starting as well. So thank you for that. As an organisation, we've invested heavily in a program that we're launching after Reconciliation Week, and that is to address racism from an anti-racism perspective. Jeremy, you sat through our pilot and gave us some great feedback. It's a 2-stage process. So it's 3 hours for the first session, 2-week break, and then 2-hour session, which is aimed at supporting the perpetrator, the victim, the bystander, and the leader to have those conversations. Did you just want to share your sort of thoughts on it?
No, well, certainly very insightful. So I think it's important for, I guess, any individual participating in the program to have the opportunity to unpack it. And I think that's the thing with anti-racism. When we think about racism, we don't think about anti-racism.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not enough to be non-racist. People can just say that.
Yeah.
But being an anti-racist it's more action orientated.
Yeah.
But to be able to do that, you need to understand what it actually is. So in this program, which I think is, I guess the difference between this and many of other programs that I've participated in over the years, is that it unpacks it. We're looking at the microaggressions, things that I've never even heard of. Microaggressions.
Microaggressions. Yeah.
So unpacking all that and how that all links to, I guess, our views and our values, but also that little bit of historical context as well, and how that's played its part in the racism stuff. So really important subject to talk about. And I feel like it's a great foundational piece for any organisation going on, I guess that education journey, whether it's anti-racism, historical, cultural awareness, cultural competence. It's a really good probably element to have within. If you've got a cultural framework within your organisation, this is probably one to consider. It certainly does empower you to have some of those tough conversations around being an anti-racist. So, I loved it.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Great.
We're proud of it, and we're taking bookings on it now, so it's really exciting. The other thing I just did want to highlight, and we deliberately brought this along for a shameless plug right here. This is a resource toolkit for educators, but it's applicable to any organisation as a document to have a look at and read. So this is a resource that is essentially about education, action and change to support people to have conversations. It's aimed primarily at educators, but I've showed it to a few people in other organisations and they've said, oh my God, we need something like this for. So we'll think about that as well. But you can download this free from our website. Just go to the resources tab and have a look. And let us know what you think. And please share it because it's a national document. We are sending this all over Australia to help teachers deal with a complex issue in the moment rather than once a week or once a month or once a year. So
Great.
please have a look at it.
And a lot of support from our education department
Totally.
here in South Australia to actually get this out to educators, as you say. And also, we have to say BHP were heavily involved in the
Absolutely.
In the
Great
journey
sponsors.
for actually getting this resource made. They were good partners.
Yep. So we've got another question here, Brenda. Still right. So I'm going to move the mouse because we'll be at the Regal Theatre on June the 3rd for a charity screening of The Last Order. Thank you, Brenda. That's good to know. Awesome. If you have other questions, shoot them through because we are running out of time. We need to get on with a whole range of other things around preparing for next week. And you've both got day jobs as well. So thanks for volunteering your time today. In terms of the organisation, as you said, volunteer board members and 5 staff. We've come in the last year. We've kind of started to re-evolve and focus, and we've got a strategic plan that the board did in, was that November last year?
I think so.
Feels like forever ago. It's all track of
but
time.
it's there, right? And we're trying to hit those targets.
Yeah.
Strategically, what's some of the things you'd like people that are watching to know about? And I guess being aware that where we're headed as an organisation, is there anything that comes to mind? Putting you on the spot now.
It is putting us on the spot. Look, I think what you want to see in any organisational development is something that's kind of building on. So I think what I've seen over the last few years is everything we do is just driving us a little bit deeper and a little bit more thoughtful and having some new partners. So for me, it would be a real shame. I think when you see some organisations kind of lurch a bit, so they get a new CEO and they kind of do this, and then they get another person, and so there's too much kind of chopping and changing often, I think. But I reckon one of the great things that I feel about reconciliation is that every piece is kind of built on everything. So even our anti-racism work that we were just referencing, we've been doing that in various iterations for a number of years, but really I guess always challenging ourselves to make something better and
Do better.
questioning
Yep.
whether it's the right thing. And we've made some pretty big calls and some big decisions to
Mm.
say, actually, some of the stuff that we were doing probably wasn't that great.
Mm.
So how do we ensure that we take on feedback and our own analysis, and then we kind of change, not completely change direction, but certainly bring in more expertise and help really drive more quality products. So I think for me, that's been the real journey over the last few years, to really kind of know who we are, know where we're going, and be able to have actions that really link to those 5 dimensions. I just think that whoever came up with that, I don't know
It's
who
clever.
it was. It was really,
Yep.
it just made so much sense
Yep.
of all of the things that we could do. So I think it now sits very much as a kind of foundation piece in the organisation. And one of the other things I think that we've done in the last couple of years has really backed in Statement from the Heart. So I think really kind of going, that still holds true,
Absolutely.
rings true,
Yep.
and is a real kind of heart of our values as an organisation. So we've got a strategy, but strategy without, is it culture eats strategy for breakfast? So culture is where we have to be really strong, and I think Statement from the Heart gives us that values and culture piece.
It's such a great anchor, isn't it, to
absolutely.
everything that we do, and I'm grateful to be able to bring that to the conversation. Yeah. What about for you, Jeremy?
I'm really looking forward to. I mean, we've had some of this conversation at the board level, and even at that strategic workshop, we talked about we're Reconciliation South Australia. So really having an emphasis on how do we get out to those regional areas, because we are South Australia. So for anyone from coming to us from the regional areas, we are planning to get out to the regional areas. I mean, if we reflect on the referendum and the results, it's an overwhelming no nationally, but a very high percentage from those regional areas. So making sure that we're getting our streamlined our programs now out to those regions specifically, because I feel like that's where a lot of the work needs to happen. Obviously not all on us, but any of our members out there that want to work with us in that space, I really encourage you to get on board and support us in that space too, so we can have that impact that we really want to have. So that's something that I'm excited about this year.
It's a really good point. And I think in our board meetings we've talked about it, that the quality of the work we do is only as good as the quality of the feedback and the responses that we get from people letting us know, and identifying opportunities or partnerships, because that's how we do that. The real change is through the partnerships, and we are open to partnerships with other organisations to carry our message and their message in different ways. So don't be afraid to reach out or email us or let us know, I guess. We have got, I think, about 5 or 10 minutes left. So if you have any other questions, please shoot them through. If we don't get any, we may have an early minute and then let everyone get back on with their days. I just wanted to check my notes and just make sure that we'd covered off on the key messages that we wanted to. And we have. But we've got over 18 people online, which is great. Thank you for making the effort. I think we're going to review it and we'll pop this onto our website so that other people can do it. For those of you that are with us and watching, we just would love you to encourage your networks to look at our website, explore our membership options, whether it's as an individual or as an organisation, because that supports us to then help to support others. And that's really exciting right now. We've seen a trend certainly since the referendum, we've seen a trend that despite what some people would tell you, of an upward trend in terms of our socials going up, our memberships have gone up, subscriptions, even if you don't want to be a member, subscribe to our newsletter. Our subscriptions have all gone up. So in terms of the theme of now more than ever,
Yeah.
people are leaning into it.
Yeah, brilliant. And there is genuine interest, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure you've both had people come to you after the referendum and say, how do we just honour and support?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I would say that I had the opportunity a month ago to meet with my counterparts from WA, Tasmania and the other states. And what we're experiencing in South Australia is no different to what they're experiencing in other states. There are people out there that want to share their views and support the voice. And we're not just talking about the structural, but the voice of First Nations people. So to that notion that reconciliation has had its time, I think that we can all squash that. It's a people movement, and it's going to grow and continue. And one speed hump does not deviate from that core of the Uluru Statement from the heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to check here because I think somebody else has messaged here.
Good eyesight.
No, I'm just squinting. Oh,
See, anyway.
Pete, have I got any other questions other than what's on the screen?
Just a link for the Education Action and Change booklet, which is on the Reconciliation South Australia website.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
And then can you repeat
I've got it.
tenets of reconciliation?
Yep, I've got it. Yep. So we do have a link. So if you want to download this booklet, it's on the Reconciliation SA website. If you go to the education section, you can download the link and you'll see a really good introduction from Luke Carroll, who is an incredible advocate and supporter for education through all of the work that he does. So we're very lucky to have him as our national ambassador. Go to our website and have a look and download it. Can we repeat the 5 tenets of reconciliation? So they're the 5 dimensions of reconciliation. Do you want me to repeat them, or do you want to?
No, you do
No,
it.
you got it written down.
I've got it written down here
I
in front of
get
me.
the language wrong.
Yep, so do I, which is why I wrote them down when you brought it up. And you know, it takes a bit to memorise them, but they've come from Reconciliation Australia, and you can go to their website and unpack the definition around that as well. But they are equity and equality, historical acceptance, unity, institutional integrity, and race relations. Yep. So that's the 5 dimensions of reconciliation. And that's okay about the spelling. I'm just reading the comment there. It's all good. I think we might.
One of the things I just might say, I think there's a lot of other things that we want people to think about in reconciliation as well, and just picking up, I think Jeremy used to do reconciliation action plans, and there are plenty of organisations who have RAPs. And one of the things I often hear is, but we're really small. We're a small organisation or a small little business, or, we run a cafe, or, like things that really don't lend themselves to having kind of a formal reconciliation action plan. But I do think it's worth looking through what's contained in an action plan and just being able to even say, look, we can't do the 50 things there, but maybe, we could do these 2 things in our kind of work world to really think about the issue or do whatever it might be. So I'd really encourage people to kind of be able to be authorised almost to just kind of look and pick bits out without having to do the whole thing, because it's not practical for everyone to be able to.
Absolutely not.
So I think, there's things we can do as individuals, there are things we can do as families, there are things we can do as smaller work groups. And then there's obviously the kind of corporate world who are doing their thing as well. But I think there's a space and a place for everybody.
It's a very good point. Yeah,
And I
it's
guess
a very good
with
point.
that, you don't have to squeeze it all in Reconciliation Week either.
No, and in fact,
No,
please
don't.
don't.
Spread it out.
It's kind of counterintuitive,
Yeah.
really. If you try and fit it all into Reconciliation Week, it defeats that deeper purpose that
Absolutely.
we need to start talking about. That's a very good point. And and I've said this to a number of people, if you look at the flip side of that good intention, I know from conversations I've had with some elders and community members and Aboriginal business leaders right now, they get overwhelmed with requests, and by the end of Reconciliation Week, they're exhausted, and then they hear nothing. So it's a really good point about let's not just make it a week. Let's lean into that purpose, deliberate stuff, and to that point about if you're a small business, I don't think you need to do a wrap, and that might be a little bit contentious,
No, I don't think you do either.
but I think it's the intention
Exactly.
as opposed to the document.
Yeah.
And I've been talking a lot in the last few months with people from local government, and I talk about visibility, right? And that visibility for the individual can be just small things that can make a huge difference in the lives of First Nations people, but also in that education space. So purchasing books and reading them to your kids or your grandkids that are First Nation stories is a way of lighting up conversations.
Absolutely.
As you said before, watching movies is another way. It can be as simple as displaying a flag or a poster. Reconciliation Week puts out these beautiful, Reconciliation SA and Australia put out these beautiful posters that you can just drop onto your own social medias. Like, it's all that visibility can be done differently. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. But that visibility is a signal that we are ready as a state to support reconciliation. That's a really important point. Thank you.
Right.
Last comments from you both before we go? Anything you'd like to just finish off with?
Well, being from the AFL industry, Adelaide Gorna are taking on the West Coast Eagles on Sunday.
Are
In
they?
the Sir Doug Nicholls round match, and it's the last AFL game for the round. Sir Doug Nicholls round's over 2 weeks. We're in the second week now, and fortunately we had the last game of the round. So if you're not doing anything on Sunday afternoon and you want to get along to an AFL game, come down and support Gorna.
Fantastic. Thank you. For those that don't know, Sir Doug Nicholls round, can you explain the history there? And
Well, Sir Doug Nicholls, obviously a trailblazer in his own right, and the AFL have chosen Sir Doug as, I guess, the person that we honour. It used to be Indigenous round, but now we honour Sir Doug Nicholls. Obviously, I guess his history speaks for itself.
It's exceptional and
unbelievable.
Google him. There's so much good stuff, and he was an extraordinary trailblazer.
But there's an honorary each year, and this year they're honouring Uncle Sonny Murray.
Amazing.
We claim him as a South Australian, although he was originally from Central Australia. First Aboriginal person to play over 200 games for Central Districts Footy Club. Again, another trailblazer in his own right here in South Australia in the football world. I saw him last night on, I think it was the Front Bar or something like that. They're very, very amazing man. So we get to honour him. But yeah, it's 2 weeks where we get to honour and celebrate the contribution of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander players, both on and off the field, across the AFL industry. And I think the AFL do an amazing job of doing that across those 2 weeks. So yeah, it's been a really exciting time and just happens to fall into Reconciliation Week as well. We're in the build up to, so a great way to get involved, and then obviously participate in Reconciliation Week events as well. So yeah, it's an exciting time, and they also have a theme as well each year with Sir Doug Nicholls round, and I think this one is sort of ties in really well with the Now More Than Ever, and it's Spirit Strong Game On, which is a really nice theme
Spirit
as well.
Strong Game On.
Game On, yeah.
Nice.
So
Like
I
that.
guess, again, reflecting on the referendum, our spirit, you can't break our spirit.
No.
We'll still be here, and we'll be here for a very long time still.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Just encourage people to get involved with any Reconciliation Week events that they're doing internally, but also external, and like Jason mentioned earlier, take a friend, take your family. There's plenty happening out there, and just get out there and get involved.
Yeah, good advice. Thank you. Helen?
No, I think Jeremy said it all. Good on you. Look, I think I just trying to work out how to pace myself over the week to keep up with it all. But I've been involved with Reconciliation for a few years now, and I think it's an incredibly, it's a frustrating at times pursuit, but I think ultimately change doesn't come easy. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any of the issues we've got. So I want us all to just kind of eyes on the kind of long game as well.
Yeah.
Big week, but long game.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Good. All right. We're almost done. There's 2 questions here I'll just call out. Are there committees or work groups that report to the board that people can get involved with? We have a membership subscription. So if you do want to be a member, that's great. But if you want to be a volunteer, we have a small volunteer base, and we're trying to work with that right now. So there are opportunities in that space for us. But I would also perhaps let you think about where you are geographically, and perhaps reach out to some of the local groups and organisations, or find out who has a RAP in your community. And if they don't, perhaps encourage them to develop a RAP and be a part of a local movement as well. But we're open to volunteers. The other question there is about organisations that have Elevate RAPs. So Elevate RAPs are at the top end of commitment, and that is a significant investment in time and resources and people. I'm not aware of a South Australian company that currently has one. I do know of an organisation that is exploring going there, and it's lovely to see that it's actually a state government department that is going to push the boundaries. But by and large, Elevate RAPs are taken up mostly by large organisations that have a national footprint and have a big machine behind them to do that work. And I, with some qualification and experience in writing RAPs and now seeing it from the other side, I would encourage anybody that is thinking about doing a RAP or redoing a RAP. I use the term less is more. Make sure that whatever you do, it's genuine
meaningful
and authentic, and let's stop with the ticker box and glorification, and make them more deliberate. So that's the message from me. I will say thank you. We've had 18 participants sitting listening to us from the start, so we must have engaged well. Appreciate you all listening and asking us questions as well. It's genuinely appreciated from us, and we would hope that you would take our messages out and let others know that we're a serious organisation that's committed to supporting reconciliation in this state. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
have a lovely day and a great Reconciliation Week. And we'll leave it at that. Natalia.